Good evening, Dr. Hemal Kanvinde, distinguished speaker for today's session, faculty members, and one and all present here in this event. I, Emilia Cole, take utmost privilege to welcome you all to CUSI, a sensitization session on organ donation, brought to you by the Department of Pharmacology in association with National Service Scheme RUAS. Dr. Hemal Kanvinde from Mohan Foundation will be enlightening us on various aspects of organ donation and the practices prevalent today. Dr. Hemal has spent the majority of her career spreading awareness, coordinating and training professionals in organ donation and transplantation through the Mohan Foundation. She is currently a quality assurance officer at Mohan Foundation and also coordinates a national helpline on organ donation. Apart from that, she is also the trustee of Golden Butterflies, an NGO working for children's palliative care in Chennai. She is a leading example of spreading hope and healthy life through noble actions. So, with that, we would like to start today's session with a short poll on organ donation. Participants can access the poll from the chat box. The same has also been shared through a Google Form link over mail. If you are facing any difficulty in accessing it through the Microsoft Teams chat box, you can cast your vote through the Google Form itself. We would like to take 2 minutes of time for participants to cast their votes. So we start with our today's event. I would like to inform the participants that your microphone has been disabled and you're requested to use your chat box option for posting any queries that you might have while the presentation is going on. Post the presentation, we will start with our question answer session. At that time, your microphone will be enabled and you can directly interact with our speaker to ask your queries. With this brief introduction, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Hemal Kanvinde. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thank the College of Pharmacology for taking up the cause of organ donation and enlightening the students and all your well-wishers about it. As from Mohan Foundation, my name is Dr. Hemal. I'm working in Chennai, but I have my senior colleague from Karnataka join in so that in future all participations and all partnerships can be done directly with the Karnataka team. Okay. So today I may take half an hour to explain all aspects of organ donation to all of you and welcome all the queries and everything after the presentation is done. So first is why organ donation. So always, as always, we must be grateful to the families of the donors. These are a few donors young life lost, either due to accidents or to intracranial bleeds. And, the families at that time agree for donation. Basically, because there is somebody who's requesting it in such a manner that they agree for it. If the hospital where the patient is getting treated gives them some good quality care and are always responsive to their questions, the families come forward. This is a result of our research done. The first picture is Mr. Hitendran. He is one of Tamil Nadu's heroes because nearly 20 years ago, when his family members, Dr. Ashokan and Dr. Gitanjali, agreed to donate, it became a big publicity of his donation became very big, and it was publicized in all the papers in Tamil Nadu and all over Tamil Nadu. They came to know about organ donation. So this girl in the center, she is from Bhubaneswar, child of a SBI professional, banker, design student, and she lost her life because of intracranial bleed. And the father agreed for donation, and in her memory, he has now started a girls' school in his village. So people are there who, and interacting with such people, you find goodness. So you must take this cause of that reason. So in 2016, Lancet conducted a study of all the reasons for death in India. And they called it nation within a nation because of the great difference in the output that came from the study. But the basic thing was over 60% of was due to non-communicable diseases, that is heart, lung, liver, cancers. And these are some of the reasons why organ donation is needed. Because right now, ischemic heart disease, lung diseases, cancers have become the major cause of death in our country. So why do we need organ donation? Because there is a medical calamity in our country that nobody talks about. When we had the tsunami, Nearly 2 lakh people died in the tsunami, and at the same time, 2 lakh people on an average need a kidney transplant. But we don't have people talking about it. It's not said in the papers. There's no relief for such patients. Just like the tsunami patients got a lot of relief, these patients do not get relief. They have to find ways of finding their own ways of getting therapy for their illnesses. So we need nearly 70,000 livers, nearly 5,000 people are waiting for heart transplants, and we also need nearly 150,000 corneas a year. This is the demand, yearly demand for organs and tissues. And that is why Mohan Foundation works to provide some succor for these patients through diseased organ donation. That's what we do. So it's about awareness about organ donation. I just talked about now what and how actual things about organ donation. Next. So the removal of tissues and organs from a living or dead person to be used in a recipient only for the purpose of therapy is called organ donation. In India, organ and tissue donation is permitted only for therapeutic purpose, not for any research purpose. And so, if you have a patient, he will get a donation and then he can survive. Other countries allow donation of organs for research also, but our country does not allow. What can be donated? Any idea what can be donated? So you have people who are living people who can be donors, and a person who is diseased can be a donor. In the living person, according to the act that India follows, the donor is divided into two parts, two types: related and unrelated. Related means close relatives, parents, siblings, spouse, children. In some states, grandparents and grandchildren are also in the related category. Such category people can donate much more easily than the unrelated. All those who do not come in related are unrelated. Cousins, uncle, aunts, in laws, old friends. Suppose you are studying together for 5 years in your course, and say after 20 years, someone of you needs a transplant. Then you can come under the unrelated category. That category, there is a little bit more of paperwork related to for allowing for the donation of the organ from the donor. A deceased person, now we have two types of deaths: circulatory death, which we normally call as normal death, or brain death. What organs can be donated under these two circumstances? In the living person can donate one kidney, bone marrow and blood, and part of liver, pancreas, and lungs. In the next place, circulatory death, usually tissues are donated, that is, corneas, skin, and heart walls. This can happen also. Nowadays, circulatory death can also lead to organ donation in some centers. In UK and in US, even in Australia, donations through circulatory death have surpassed the donations after brain death. After brain death, you have the concept of multi-organ donation. And so multiple organs can be donated, and a person is able to save nearly 8 people's lives through these donations. And so this is what can be donated after, donated whether you are living or after death. For both cases, you need the consent of the next of kin. Even if you are a living donor and you wish to donate to your brother, your spouse needs to give their consent. Okay. Now, understanding brain death is extremely important, because when a patient is in a brain death situation, he appears to he appears to be sleeping. He doesn't appear to be dead. So we take a few minutes to understand brain. Most of you who have heard brain death, So the technical definition of brain death is a stage at which all function of brain stem are permanently and irreversibly ceased. A simple manner, when the brain is made of the three parts, if the cerebrum does not function well because of some reasons, the patient goes into vegetative state or coma state. If the brain stem does not function and later on the entire brain stops functioning, then that patient is said to be in a brain dead state. It's simplest and once the brain stem stops functioning, that becomes irreversible condition. So, what are the functions of the brain stem? If we are breathing, we just finished our lunch, we have decent blood pressure, you're listening to me and you're alert about it, that means your brainstem is functioning. Because these are some things that are essential for our survival. Causes of brain death is trauma, tumor, hemorrhage, and ischemia. These are the most common causes. Nearly 80% of the deaths are due to some severe head trauma. And most of them happen due to road traffic accidents. And the drunk driving which causes it, whether it is speeding, whether it is fog, on an average, this is 2015 data, but on an average, 407 people die on the road. And even if minuscule of this are taken to the hospital and they end up brain dead, and each one who is brain dead is counseled, family is counseled, maybe we could get more organs, So please see that you drive safe and take care of your health also. Yeah. Next, the basically brain death. Why it happens is because of an injury. Up, there's no space to expand because we have the skull, and therefore it puts a heavy pressure on the brains of the brain and does not allow the blood pressure to. It increases so much that the blood cannot be supplied to the top part of the brain.
I am Dr. Sandeep Vash, and I have been a practicing neurosurgeon for the past 20 years. Over the next 5 minutes, I shall explain what brain death is. Brain death or neurological death is a term not well understood by the public. People tend to confuse brain death with coma. This animation will explain what brain death is, how it is substantially different from coma. Let us start by understanding anatomy. The brain consists of two parts, the cortex and the brainstem. The cortex is the larger part of the brain and the brainstem is the smaller. The brainstem is actually the top of the spinal cord. The cortex controls higher functioning activities such as reading, writing, and talking. If the cortex is seriously damaged, the person might enter coma and lose consciousness. But even in coma, a person might still feel pain or respond to stimuli, and sometimes a comatose patient might regain consciousness. Brain death is, however, different from coma. It's a term used to describe the whole brain dying, both the cortex and the brainstem. The brainstem is the central nervous system of the human body and the center of consciousness. If the brainstem dies, respiration would stop. Once the heart stops receiving oxygen, it too would die and stop beating, and all other organs will also die due to oxygen deprivation. How does brain death occur? If a person receives a serious blow to the head or has a major stroke, the brain might begin to swell. Since the skull is made of hard bone, it doesn't allow the brain to expand. Physicians can try medication or surgery to reduce the swelling, but if this does not succeed, the pressure on the brain can grow greater than the pressure of the beating heart. Once this happens, the heart can no longer force oxygenated blood into the brain. With no supply to the brain cells die due to the lack of oxygen. In fact, the cells don't just die. A process called lysis begins where cells begin to liquefy. This liquefaction makes the brain death irreversible. Once the brainstem dies, the person stops breathing and the heart and the rest of the organs die due to oxygen deprivation. So how do we know the brainstem has died? Modern medicine has lots of ways to determine if the brainstem has died. One way is to check for the neurological activities that the brainstem controls. If the person is not conscious, cannot breathe, cannot swallow or cough, pupils do not respond to light, these are all signs the brainstem has died. In India, the Transplantation of Human Organs Act of 1994 specifies a series of tests that need to be performed by a team of 4 doctors before brain death is declared. The tests are performed twice with an interval of 6 hours. But how is it possible for the heart of a brain dead patient to keep beating? Where does the heart get oxygen from? The patient has been put on a ventilator to help him breathe. Afterwards, the brainstem dies. Even though the brainstem is dead and the lungs no longer function, the heart continues to beat because it is artificially being supplied oxygen from the ventilator. If the brainstem and the rest of the brain is dead, what is instructing the heart to beat? The heart is independent of the brain and is simply an automatic pump. As long as the heart gets oxygen from the ventilator, it will continue beating for a short period of time. After the onset of brain death, if the deceased is left on the ventilator, how long would the dead body's heart continue to beat? The heart can beat for a few more hours, sometimes even a few weeks. On an average, the heart would beat for 2 or 3 days and then die. Brainstem death is death. It is irreversible and systemic failure of all organs is inevitable. No one has ever woken up from brain death. If brain death means the patient has died, why does the body feel warm to the touch and looks like it's sleeping? The human being, the organism, is dead, but the organs, such as the heart, are kept alive for a few more days, giving the appearance of a sleeping person. An organ can be kept alive even outside the body by giving it oxygen, but the person is dead once the brain is dead. A brain dead patient is not a person suffering from brain death. He is dead. Once death has been established, the question facing the family in that situation is what to do. Should the family wait till their loved one's heart stops beating? Or should they express their wish to donate organs and save other people's lives? Emotionally, it's a difficult choice, and every family has to do what they feel is right.
I hope everybody understood what the meaning of brain death is. And this video is also
madam.
available on our YouTube. So all of you can have a second look also at it. A little bit about the law and processes that happen in a case of organ donation. So in 1994, the central government enacted an act called the Transplantation of Human Organs Act, and this was amended in 2011. Basically, the main items in the act was to define brain death and also to set how to do brainstem determination. What are the tests, who will do it, all that is described in the act itself. So there is no concept of I do not know what to do in case of a brain death. Everything is very clearly defined and protocols are laid for it. The second thing was to regulate removal, storage and transplantation of organs for therapy purposes. To prevent commercial dealings, there are a lot of kidney rackets in 1994, 1992, and therefore this act came up. And to regulate transplant hospitals and tissue banks. How to get a license, who will give you the license, how to set up a tissue bank, all those things are set up in the act. Apart from the act, since state is health is a state state government also has orders which help in this organ donation, in diseased organ donation, and they set up a system of cadaver transplant authorities. Every state will have a cadaver transplant authority with different names. Like in Tamil Nadu, we have TransTan, which is the authority which does everything for diseased organ donation. In Karnataka, we have Jeeva Sarthakate, that is responsible for everything that happens in cadaver transplant, in diseased organ donation. Under the law, it's also defined the punishments for illegal things. If in living donations there is submission of false documents or it is proved that commercial dealing was done in organs, these are some of the punishments that you will have to undergo. And if it is for a doctor, then finally his registration is cancelled and he cannot practice anymore. Now, who maintains the wait list of patients who are under organ failure? This is the state cadaver department, which is your Jeeva Sarthakate in Karnataka. So they maintain the wait list, and every patient who wishes to have a donation or transplantation of organ, then they have to register through the hospital into the Jeeva Sarthakate wait list. This, I would like to talk about the process. If you have a patient who wishes to register as a patient in a hospital, they have to go to the correct hospital, every transplant hospital, licensed transplant hospital, meet the nephrologist or the hepatologist or whoever is your treating doctor, and request them that their name be put on the waiting list. The waiting list is maintained by the state government. Why Jiva Sarthakate? It is not maintained by NGO. It is not maintained by Mohan Foundation. These are some of the myths people have, that Mohan Foundation maintains the wait list. Mohan Foundation has got organs in their cupboards. It's not possible. And Mohan Foundation has got a list of donors, and we will provide organs to people. So when there is a patient who liver transplant patient or a kidney transplant patient, we have to see that they are in so much anxiety. They cannot understand properly the entire processes, and they want easy, quick solution because it's a life saving. And they demand that Moon Foundation is doing so much for organ donation. Of course, you have a list of donors. Why don't you give me donors of Mangalore? So we have to really carefully tell them that everything is under the control of the state government. Moon Foundation is a counseling center. We counsel the families where brain death has happened so that they are able to say yes to donation. This is one of our major activities. Okay, so we just did a poll on myths and facts. So let's go through it now. So here are two myths. If the family agrees to donate, the doctors will not save the patients. Is that true or false? Could you just write somewhere? Is that possible to say something here? How many of you believe that
Yes,
this
ma'am,
is
you can use the chat box
okay.
option.
Okay, fine. So let's have people saying, do they believe this or not? Is it agreed that doctors will not save a patient if family agree to donation? Anybody on the chat box writing down? Yeah, it's really false, because the doctors will not even talk of donation till brainstem death certification has happened. So there is a D-link, first you do the brainstem death certification, let the family understand that there is death has happened. When death has happened, has been agreed by the family, they have sort of understood that the person will not come back. After that only you start with cornea donation. If the family agrees for cornea donation, then you go for organ donation. Okay? It's a slow process. You cannot just say tell a family that we are doing brainstem death certification, we have finished it, the tests have become positive, your patient is dead, and now you can go for organ donation. This is complete no. You cannot do that. So, no, doctors will always try to save the patient. And please remember that most of the cases are accident cases. So, the doctors who are actually treating the patients are the emergency or the trauma care doctors. They do not have an idea about donation at all. They don't think, oh, a donor has come. That's not good. So, this is something that people feel. Community does feel, okay? Donor family will have to pay more money to the hospital. Can we have in the chat box how many of you feel the donor family has to pay for the donation? So what actually the hospital does it? Yeah, it's a myth. Till the patient is certified brain death and the family agrees to donation, after that, whatever is the cost of maintaining the donor in the ICU on the ventilator is not provided to the family. Okay. That is absorbed by the hospital or the patients who receive the organs. So this is also a complete myth. What if I recover from brain death? Do you believe that brain death is final, or some people can recover from brain death? Yeah, it is just not possible to recover from death. Next, if I donate organs, I will be born without them in the next birth. So we see that the organs are already destroyed. Either we cremate or bury ourselves. Physical bodies have no importance after death. So it's all lost. So better that we stay alive in others. And, so when you are discussing these things amongst your family members, when you go back or amongst your friends, you must have good answers for all the myths that people have when they are chatting about organ donation, Yeah. Thank you so much. Next one. Let's take the next myths. Yeah. Religions forbid organ donation. Lot of the poll people said that religions forbid organ donation. Next, an organ donation mutilates the body. There is a center cut from the chest to the navel, and organ donation is done, retrieval surgery is done, body is sutured really properly by surgeons and then given back to the family. Nobody comes to know that the organ donation has been done. In fact, for religions, all faith do not talk of organ donation as it is, but they talk of saving lives, of helping others. And but now, recently, in the last 5-6 years, we have had a lot of leaders, spiritual leaders, and speak positively about organ donation and actually ask their followers to take up the cause, to think about it. And also, it is possible that religions do not forbid organ donation at all. It doesn't. So now, when you have known and we have touched upon all of these issues of myths and all, would you like to pledge for organ donation? Would you like to live in 8 other people's after you're no more? So how do you do this? This is a donor card. This is what a donor card looks like. A donor card is a wish card. It is not a legal statement at all. It's a wish card. And this wish card you can keep with you, sign on it and keep it with you. Please show it to your family and friends so that in case such a situation happens that organ donation is needed to be done, in that case, they will remember the discussion of the donor card and say yes to the hospital at that time. So you can register at Mohun Foundation, in the Mohun Foundation website. You can register in Jeeva Sarthakate website. You can register in the national website, that is the NOTO website, NOTTO. There are 3 places where you can register. All of this is online. You will receive a donor card. Mohun Foundation provides an online donor card. You have to print it, sign it and laminate it and keep it with you. In your college, in your campuses, you can initiate an organ donation pledge day. You can choose second Thursday of or Wednesday of March is World Kidney Day. You could use that day to start something on organ donation, in which the entire campus then pledges for organ donation. So choose a day to do organ donation. 2nd December or 4th December is the first heart transplant day. 50 years have passed from the first heart transplant. You could use that day. You days of importance and do a pledge day on that day. Now, in the Motor Vehicles Act in 2018, where you go for your driving license, there is an option when you're taking your license to become an organ donor. That case, on your donor card, you'll have a small green or a red heart saying that, yes, this person is an organ donor. It's just an indication. That doesn't mean that organ donation will happen if there is a donor card in your wallet. India follows the opt-in process. That is, you are not. So what I meant was, even if we have opt-in, like we have opt-in, Singapore has an opt-out. That is, once you're 18 years old, you are an organ donor. And you have to tell the ministry that I do not wish to be an organ donor. Okay. Croatia, Spain are all opt-out. USA is just turning into opt-out. Every adult is an organ donor. 2 forms of organ donation, 2 principles of organ donation. In England, Scotland is opt-out, but all of England is opt-in. Okay? So it depends on how the state government wants to take it up. Even if you are an organ donor, still your next of kin has to sign a legal consent form. That is according to the Act, Transplant of Human Organs Act. So in any case, where then voluntary body donation, organ donation, tissue donation, everywhere the legal consent is taken from the next of kin. This is in India. Okay. The law can maybe change to say that every death, the family has to get an option for organ or tissue donation. That can be said, that every hospital, for every death, there should be a person, medical social worker or somebody who is a nodal officer for donation to be there and to ask the relatives for this donation. That may help in increasing our need for organ donation. Little bit about Mohun Foundation now. That's the end of my talk. Our motto is Life, Pass It On. We have offices in multiple places now. We started 25 years ago in Chennai. Now we have offices in 8 or 9 places. Even in Bangalore, we have an office. Mohun stands for Multi-Organ Harvesting Aid Network. Basically, our activities, public awareness, in which we do multiple programs. These are all organ donors, these phases, The second phase is of a nurse, Hemavati, from government hospital, RGGH, Chennai. She was the one who was awarded for her efficiency in getting nearly 150 cornea donations in a year. And unfortunately, next year she passed away, and her brother then donated her eyes. So she's one very person who's very close to Mohan Foundation. So there is a way to find out how many people have pledged. And when we did a study of how many people have pledged in Tamil Nadu, we saw that Chennai, we had reached to maximum people in Chennai, but other places like the next tier cities, we had not reached so much. So now our efforts have to go into more into the interior of Tamil Nadu. We do want many things, as an NGO. Resource crunch, people crunch is a major thing that stops us from getting what we want. So our wish list is to increase our impact in public. We need a lot of people to understand the correct concepts of organ donation, to do a lot of myth busting, create a dedicated group of angels. We have an Angels of Change or Ambassador program, which is a training that we provide to others who wish to take up this cause ahead of, next on. And so we do train them, and they go ahead and do their own public awareness activities, conduct more sessions with nurses and other paramedical people, because they are the ones who are always with the patients, and the patients' caregivers ask a lot of questions to the nurses. So good sensitized nurses will help in getting diseased organ donation. Train transplant coordinators, increase our reach in counselors. So counselors are basically based in government hospitals in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, even in Andhra Pradesh. So we would want that such counselors be placed in more government centers, so that more donations and more benefits happen to government hospitals. See, if there's a donation in a government center, most of the organs are given to the government patients in the government center. So that is how the organ allocation is done by the state government. Every person who is a donor, one organ is offered to the government hospital, whether it is private hospital or public hospital. So that way government hospitals gain by the donations. So that is the end of my talk. Most welcome to ask any questions. You please write down these contact details of ours, and you could contact us directly for any query you have, or you could ask the query right now also. You're most welcome. I have Ranjini with me to answer any local Bengaluru, Karnataka queries, or you could have this. Have you all taken down this number, 1800-103-1700, 7100 number? Please write down this number in your phones. It's essential to have it, because in case of a death of a family loved one, at least cornea donation is possible. Through this helpline, we coordinated nearly more than 50 cornea donations last year. So it is a valuable resource for the family to complete the wishes of the loved one. Also, this helpline provides help for patients who want to know where to register, how to register, how do I get an organ? All those queries also our counselors are able to handle very well.
Hello, my name is Shreya Satan Gaudar, and I am a recipient of bilateral above elbow hand transplantation. I lost both my forearms in a bus accident in 2016. After the accident, I tried to use prosthetic hands, but they didn't help me in any manner. That is when I saw hand transplantation as my last hope. On the early morning of 10th August, I got to see my new forearms for the first time, and I cannot express the amount of happiness or even the amount of gratitude I felt when I saw my new hands for the first time. I'm truly blessed that I got this chance of having hands again, and I had accepted them as soon as I saw them. But Today, it is almost 3 years since my transplantation, and I can do most of my work, be it bathing, dressing up, eating, or combing my hair, brushing my teeth, writing my college exams all by myself. So I'm glad and I'm extremely happy that I can do all of these things again. And I just have one message for my donors family is that this deed that they did of donating their son's organs is really noble, and he is still alive in 7 other people, including me. And this hand transplantation has given me a second shot at life. And my donors' family are no less than a God's blessing for me as well as my parents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So just to inform the participants that we will shortly be launching the attendance form in the chat box. Please keep a note of it. And with this, we will like to proceed further with our question answer session. You can directly enable your mic to interact with the speaker, or if you wish, you can also post your question in the chat box. We will take it up from there.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yeah, this is Anbu. I have two questions for me, ma'am. Here, you mentioned India does not allow organ donation for research purpose.
Yes.
So, what is the actual reason for not allowing for research purpose? And if it is allowed, then what are all the steps or document to be produced to get permission for research purpose to get that organ? And question number two, you said in video file, doctor explained on brain death. So now after brain death, with the support of artificial ventilation, the heart can be activated for a few hours to few. So in that case, what is the timeline for donating other organs at this situation, madam?
Okay. So the first is the question for research and therapy. Sometimes I do not know why the law says that only for therapy and not for research. But also cornea donation, skin donation can be used, tissue donation can be used for research. To get an organ to do research, I think there should be a council in ICMR which allows there should be some way of getting an organ to do research on, or for biomedical research and all. I think there would be, but I'm not able to get an answer for you correctly on this part. Regarding the timeline, a patient on the ventilator, a brain dead patient on the ventilator, is extremely unstable. The blood pressure keeps on changing. There's a lot of urine output. There is something called as in diabetes insipidus that happens, and therefore it is very difficult to maintain a brain dead patient and keep the organs functioning to the best capacity. And that is why within 6 hours of the first certification, we usually get our counselors to get an answer from the patient's family towards consent or no consent, both. We request our counselors to talk to the family members. And because the certification is two process, one is at 0 hours and one is at 6 hours, at that time, within that 6 hours, we should process all the things that are needed to convert into an organ donation. So within 6 hours, the organ donation should happen after the certification of brain death.
Thank you, madam. Another small question, madam. Actually, you mentioned about the wish card. So if we have wish card in our wallet, even though the family members' permission is required, or directly a licensed hospital can take them for organ isolation, or with the support of some of the other friends, is it possible to immediately donate the organ?
No, sir. You have to. The doctors will not retrieve an organ unless next of kin has signed the legal consent form. Consent form, I think, is form number 8, and so that form has to be signed by the next of kin, whether it is spouse or oldest son, or for a child, both the parents sometimes. In cases, we have done many cases in Tamil Nadu. Sometimes, the patient has 2 wives, and we do not know. But the counselor has been with the family for 3-4 days in the hospital, and he or she comes to know of the family situation. Then you have to take the signature of both the wives. So
Okay.
such incidents also happen. So we cannot have a single person signing on the consent form. Usually, as a backup, we take some senior person consent also. Usually, when the young wife has to sign, she has to go back and live her life in the same village. And if she goes against the wishes of her family, it becomes a very difficult time for her. So we try
Okay.
and get the whole family to agree to donation, so that when the wife or the and her small children and people, such people have to go back to the village and live. So that is
Okay.
why it is very vital that the entire family agrees to donation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, madam.
So please excuse me for a very small interruption. So the attendance form has been sent in the chat box. It is live. So the participants are requested to fill in the attendance form. And we will continue with our question answer session now. So ma'am, we have a question from Shikha S. In case of death from myocardial infarction, can the organ be donated?
No, ma'am. In case of MI, organ donation is not possible. Tissue donation is possible within 6 hours or 4 to 6 hours of death. Tissues like eyes, corneas, and skin can be donated. For heart valve donation, the patient has to go to has to be taken to a organ OT. In some centers, if the heart can be, circulation can be restarted using an ECMO or something, then organ donation is possible. Okay? But not most of the centers do not do this. Only PGI Chandigarh has started a section on donation after cardiac death. In case of heart,
Thank you, ma'am.
organ donation cannot be done.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is, are there any ethical issues that are associated with organ donation?
There are many ethical issues in organ donation, uh, especially in living donations. Most of the donors, 70% of the donors are women, 2 men, and hardly 16% of men donate to women. That is one issue. There are many issues in organ donation. Who will get the organ? Organ allocation is a huge area of ethical discussions. Whether a person who is a liver cancer patient or a cirrhosis patient, so what does he deserve the organ? A person who is drinking or smoking has lost his organ because of uh, you know inappropriate behavior in society. Does he deserve an organ is a big ethical question. So usually a person who is drunk and has spoiled his liver is requested that 6 months after full abstinence he can then only register as a patient in the government waiting list. So some sort of checks and balances are there to keep in mind the ethical issues of organ allocation. Also, who gets the organ, whether a young person or elderly person. These are basic ethical issues in organ donation. In diseased organ donation, there is not much issue. Sometimes, very few times, a diseased donor family will say that we will donate the organs, but can you give one organ to our ex-relative who has kidney failure? So this is called as directed donation. Sometimes these queries do come up, and then the state government has to take action on how to take this forward.
Next question is, does the central government has any role in the list of recipient? And is there any provision to get organ donation linked to Aadhaar card or Aadhaar number?
Right now, there is no link to Aadhaar number. As an organ donor also, there is no link. Because right now, we still have the opt-in system, So you can opt in to become an organ donor, but you still need your consent from the next of kin as and when that things happen. What was the first question you asked?
Is the central government involved in the list of recipient?
Yes. The central government, NOTTO, is the authority which also maintains a wait list. Because health is a state subject, right now all the wait lists are not merged in the central government wait list. Okay, but if you have any patient is allowed to register in the central government wait list also, they get some sort of relief in terms of post-transplant medications, some sort of relief in terms of central government subsidies for transplantation expenses. So there are some things, but most of the patients prefer to register in the state government waiting list. The central government does have a consolidated wait list of all the patients, and all the state governments have to send in their annual reports to the central government about the donations and transplantation and waiting list and people who died on the waiting list. All such sort of a report goes to the central government.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another question is separate consent taken from the donor family when the tissue or cornea is taken for research purpose along with the transplant?
Yes. In the consent form also, it is written that in case the cornea is of not good enough quality for a transplant, we will use it for research. So if you agree for that or not also happens. Sometimes patients who have passed away are more than 80, 85 years old. Sometimes those corneas are not good quality to be transplanted. So if we are counseling, we do tell the family members that we are most welcome to do the donation of the cornea, but we want to tell you that it may not be used for this, but it may not give sight to others. It may be used for research. We do give that disclaimer to the family members.
Okay, ma'am. Next is what if a person has signed up for donation, but due to some reason his family isn't allowing organ donation after his death?
Donation will not happen. That is why it is necessary that when you register as organ donor, you print your donor card, you have the discussion with as many people as possible so that they are aware of it. Sometimes in the shock, they do not agree to it at all.
Okay, ma'am. We have another question, which is if the person has undergone chemotherapy and recovered from cancer, can the
Yeah.
person still become a donor?
Yes, they can become donors, but at the time of death, the doctors will check the functioning of all organs, and only then they will decide whether organ donation is done or not. Okay? There's nobody stopping you from registering or pledging as an organ donor. There's nothing to stop you. You should be just 18 and above. That is the only criteria to pledge for organ donation. Hep C, a patient has become a donor for a Hep C recipient. So, there's nothing stopping anybody from becoming a donor at all.
Okay, ma'am. Ashley wants to ask how many times an organ can be transplanted?
The same organ. So one person
Yes,
has
ma'am.
given an organ to me, I pass away, and then my organ is given to somebody else. Yes, it has
Yes,
happened
ma'am.
recently. Very recently, it has happened in a couple of times for kidneys as well as for liver. Sometimes when there is a kidney patient who's received a kidney and then unfortunately within a few years passes away due to some reason, and then sometimes the kidney is not taken, but the other organs are taken. So that actual examples have happened. And recently, I think in Ahmedabad, within 2 days, a person passed away after his transplant. So the transplanted kidney also was removed and used for some other patient. So that was the first incidence of a transplanted kidney within 4 days of transplantation was retrieved and saving life for another patient.
So, ma'am, there isn't any rule laid down from the government side that this should be the number of times an organ can be transplanted.
No rules from the government side. This is a medical decision whether the organ can be used or not.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, next question is, if I need any organ for my family member, what will be the protocol? Do you or the Mohan Foundation help in that aspect?
No, Mohan Foundation will not help you in getting an organ. The protocol is there's a family member in your who is an organ failure patient. You have to register the patient in a transplant center. Absolutely first thing. And get the name registered in the cadaver transplant list or the government waiting list. At the same time, when the patient's name is on the government waiting list, that means his identity is there and his number will keep on increasing as much as the organ donations come. When he comes to the top 10, he will get a be ready sort of an intimation that you're in the top 10, be ready, be sort of medically fit, physically fit, have your finances ready. You may be called any time to come for a transplant. Like that one intimation goes to them. At the same time, the family also needs to see if they have a living donor to help the survivor of your patient. So one is registering in the cadaver transplant list and second, finding a living donor. These are the two things that a family member can do to save a patient's life.
Okay, ma'am. We have one question is that if I donate an organ, does the doctor sell it to the patient or it's some other process? It's not basically selling.
No hospital will sell an organ. Organ is like priceless, because if you see if dialysis happens for 20 years for a person, it costs nearly more than 1 crore of rupees. So if a person after 3 years of dialysis gets an organ, is he going to pay 1 crore of rupees? Because that's what he's going to save in dialysis cost. So there is no cost to the organ. The cost to the patient is maybe if the organ is shifted from one city to another, one place to another, transport costing. These costs may come to the recipient or it may be absorbed by the hospital itself, recipient hospital itself. But there is no cost to the organ at all.
Okay, ma'am.
How much
next
are
is
you willing to pay? I just want to ask a question. If you have a heart transplant patient in your house, how much money are you willing to pay for an organ? Is anybody ready to pay amount for an organ if they get it? Would it be 50,000? Would it be 50 lakhs? So there is just no amount to the organ. You can't place it's priceless. That's what I mean.
yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Next is in case of family history of disease, will the organ donation be preferred from the family member, or someone outside of family?
If there's a family history of hypertension and diabetes, the doctors would not advise a family member to be an organ donor. Okay, so the patient will have to wait for a deceased organ donation. That is what I surely know about this. Okay, yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, ma'am. Next is in case of unclaimed bodies, does the government have the right to pledge organs on behalf of the deceased?
If it is unclaimed body and the body is in the hospital mortuary or in the hospital actually, then the medical superintendent of the hospital is the legal entity for the body. Okay. If it is a body of accident victim and there is nobody who is claiming that, then the body is in the possession of the police because it is an accident case. It's a medical legal case. Then the police can decide whether to give consent for the donation, but usually it is the medical superintendent's initiative to give the consent. But anyway, the hospital will wait for 72 hours for the next of kin to be found and to be brought to the hospital and all. Only then they will initiate these things about giving consent. Till now, such a thing has not happened in India.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question is, what if the patient requires an organ immediately? Will they
What?
be given priority over, if a patient requires an organ immediately, urgent transplantation is required, will they
Yeah.
be given priority over those in the waiting list?
Yes, medical urgency is a big criteria, especially for liver and heart patients. With ECMO and all, the heart patients can spend a few months on ECMO, so they don't become urgent. But there is some categories called as supra-urgent and urgent. A person with multiple organ failures, say 4 or 5 organ failures, he is always on the top of the list. In USA, one girl got 4 organs: liver, kidneys, pancreas, intestine. She got 4 organs transplanted. She is very, very healthy right now. So, such multiple organ failure patients always get highest priority. They can jump the waiting list. They are always on top.
Okay, ma'am. Next is, what if the transplant is a failure for some reason? What after that?
If if it is kidney and the transplant is failure, then the patient goes back onto dialysis. If it is liver and the transplant is failure, then we cannot help to save the patient at all. Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am, we have a last question. With advancement in stem cell organ cloning, can this be an alternative for organ donation in near future?
I just read that a kidney grown in a pig, inside a pig, was transplanted as a, as a, this thing, a human kidney. I mean, that has happened. There is also a very good chance of having artificial kidney being done. A lot of research work has happened in artificial kidneys. So that can be a possibility more than having organ cloning. Okay, and that is very much possible. And also there is this, the plastic printing. Through the plastic printing, they have managed to make artificial kidney, which is under testing right now. It's not actually transplanted, but it is under testing right now.
Ma'am, there is one more question. Suppose if organ has been already transplanted and by chance if the organ is failing, how many times the same recipient can get the new organ or the same kind of organ?
Yeah, it depends on what is the status of the recipient at that time. If he's extremely sick, he goes again very high on the waiting list because of the loss of his transplanted organ. Otherwise, he goes back on the waiting list as a normal organ failure patient. There have been instances where patients have received repeated transplantation of kidneys, or even in Bangalore, there is Reena Raju. She's a heart transplant. She has received her heart transplant twice. So she's extremely lucky person to get a heart transplant. That has happened. Transplant happened in Chennai under Dr. K.M. Cherian, but she's a resident of this place in Bangalore.
What is the difference between coma and brain death? Because there is a question. It is like, in case of coma situations, can a person donate organs?
Yeah, in case of coma situation, person cannot donate organs. They are not dead, first of all. Coma is when the cerebrum of the outer layer, the cortex of the brain, the top portion of the brain, when that stops functioning, that status is called coma. When the brainstem, that is this part of the brainstem, the back part of the brain, down, which goes to the spinal cord, that step stops functioning, that is called brainstem death. Brainstem death is irreversible, and that is death. But coma is not death. Coma is deep state of unconsciousness. Completely different situations. The only thing that is common is they are lying in bed. Both of them are unconscious. But a coma patient may not need a tube to breathe, may feel pain. A brain dead person will not feel pain. Coma person is not able to respond, but they are able to have their own blood pressure going, they can able to digest, they are able to do all the basic living things that are needed, processes that are needed to stay alive. The very basic ones, breathing, and then, maintaining your BP, digestion, all that is done by a coma patient. You don't need anything special for them. But a brain dead patient will never come back to life, and so that is why the reason is this.
There is one more question, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Suppose if the person is undergoing or undergone chemotherapy, and if the person has recovered from cancer completely, can that person still become a donor?
Yes, sir. They can become donor. They can pledge for organ donation. Absolutely. Depends on where the cancer was. If it is a systemic cancer, then maybe at that time of death, they may not agree to donation. But if it is, related to just one organ or something, then of course, depending at the time of death, what is the situation of the other organs, they would agree to donation.
Ma'am, one last question.
Yes,
recently, when we had one session with IIT Bombay regarding the Drishti, there was a question where it was asked, is there a limitation of blood group for cornea donation?
Yeah.
And the resource person told cornea is a place where blood doesn't enter. So there is blood group limitation for cornea donation. So similarly, organ donation, is there any limitations such as the blood group needs to match and all?
Yes, absolutely. See, you are putting an organ which has already got its cells and all inside it, and also the blood is inside it, and you're going to put it in another person. There will be a big issue about mismatch or organ rejection. So it is always better to have more matched organ than a mismatched organ. So the best matching is the same blood group. And especially for living donation, they do something as HLA, human lymphocyte antigen. These tests are done, and more closer you are, the more better the outcome of the transplantation. So blood group match is a big yes for organ donation, but it is not at all needed for tissue donation.
Thank you, ma'am. That was indeed a very interactive session. I would now like to request Vikas Manu to propose the vote of thanks for today's session.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, Vikas, you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening to one and all, distinguished colleagues and participants. Now we are marching towards end of the session. It's my honor and privilege to conclude the session by extending a vote of thanks. First of all, we are very much thankful for the management for their continuous encouragement and support in conducting online events. I would like to thank our Dean, Dr. S. Bharat, for his constant support. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. J. Anbu, Professor, Head of the Department, Pharmacology, Dr. Reema Chaudhary, Director, Student Affairs, Ms. Pranupa and Mr. Damodar Naik A, NSS Officer Program, for their support and valuable guidance. And I would like to thank our speaker of today's session, Dr. Hemal Kanvinde, for her time, presence, and for enlightening us and motivating us towards such a noble cause. I express special thanks to Ms. Emilia Cole for delivering the welcome remarks for this auspicious occasion. On my personal behalf and behalf of the Faculty of Pharmacy, I profusely thank all the participants for their active participation, support, and presence in making this program a noteworthy success. Thank you, one and all.
Dear participants, thank you for your time attending this event. Just to give you an insight, we will also be sharing the link to become an organ donor, to take pledge as an organ donor. The link has been shared by Dr. Hemal. I'll be sharing the same over the email. If you are interested, you can also pledge as an organ donor. As ma'am informed, a digital card will be sent to you, and you can take printout, sign, and laminate it for your future purpose. Thank you, Hemal ma'am. Thank you, everyone.